Hey guys, right. Okay, before we get into this, you know what I'm going to say to you. Make sure you smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And even better, click the notification bell to make sure you get alerted to all the new videos. This was going to come out earlier, got really busy. Apologies. Okay, enough of that. Let's move on to what we want to talk about. Conor Benn, let's talk about him first because what a victory. Completely blew away Samuel Vargas in the first round of the fight as well. That's the earliest Samuel Vargas has been stopped in his career, and he's fought the likes of Amir Khan, Errol Spence, Louis Colazo, etc. Virgil Ortiz recently as well, who's another fantastic prospect. I think probably more even more highly rated than someone like Conor Benn. He's alongside Jarron Ennis, who we're going to talk about as well because he fought. But on Conor Benn first, I mean, it's funny because I watch him and in the past he just looked so unrefined. He looked wild. He's almost channeled. Tony Sims has done a really good job, I think, with him. He's channeled that aggression, and he just looks quick, powerful, and accurate. That's what I. That's the first couple of things that came into my head when I saw that first round stoppage. It was just every punch is there to hurt you, and the speed as well. And I don't know whether it's just because I haven't seen. Well, no, I've seen pretty much all his fights. I just don't remember him being that quick. And it clearly must be something that he's worked on because he seems to have that bit of explosiveness about him. He really does. He really, really does. Now, whether that's going to fly as he moves up the levels because he seems to be slightly one dimensional, we shall see. But I was really impressed, I have to say. He was a wrecking ball machine in there. And I really am excited for his next fight. To be honest with you, I'm so excited for his next fight. Can't wait to see who they pick. I would love to see him against Avanesian. To be honest with you, but before actually I go on to potential opponents, what did you guys think of the stoppage? Because there's two schools of thoughts that I've heard after the fight. Some pundits, channels, and other avenues are saying that actually he shouldn't have been stopped because it was a bit premature and really he didn't get dropped. He didn't look that hurt, and you have to give him a chance to recover. He's a tough guy, etc. The other school of thought is actually no, he was going to go in 5-10 seconds, and actually one of the shots rocked him. It looked like his eyes had rolled to the back of his head and his arms dropped forward. So okay, you need to stop it because he's just going to get really badly hurt. So what's the point? I'm kind of in between. I'm thinking yes, it probably would have been the case that he's flat on his back most likely after 10-15 seconds. But I'm also thinking it's probably slightly premature because, and again, this is like a one in a million thing to happen. But Samuel Vargas could, I don't know, Conor Benn throwing a shot and he counters with a left hook and it could rock Conor Benn. And you just never know, right? Again, I'm not saying that would happen. I'm just saying that there's this minute possibility that it could happen. And if there's even a minute possibility that Samuel Vargas can fight back, then you've got to give him a chance, I think. The only thing I would say is he was covering up and he didn't really look to throw, so maybe that's why the referee stopped it as well. So I think you can look at it both ways, but I think either way, Conor Benn's getting the win there. So I don't think it's too. Yeah, I don't think there's too much to discuss. If I'm being honest with you, but yeah, as I said, I mean this is the quickest Samuel Vargas has been stopped. He's a tough campaigner. He really is. Is campaign a bit disrespectful? I mean, is he fringe world level? Is he? I don't know. I mean, I'll stick with campaigner. I don't think that's too disrespectful. And genuinely, he's a tough dude. I was expecting him to go to 12 rounds. Actually, I was expecting him to go to the latter rounds at least. I was thinking maybe a stoppage between the ninth and 12th round. It just wasn't to be. Conor Benn was just too explosive at the start, and I don't think Samuel Vargas was expecting it, especially so early on. Um, Crazy, absolutely crazy. And this is a Samuel Vargas that's had a full camp as well, so it's not like he's coming at short notice. Unbelievable stuff. Now, Conor Benn called out Amir Khan after, and Sean Porter, and who else actually? Adrian Broner. Now, I'm going to be completely honest with you, he's not going to get any of those fights. Adrian Broner is going to be like, why do I need to fight you? Multi-weight world champion, not at his peak. And honestly, I mean, Conor Benn is generating money, and I think, like a lot of people are saying, that he most likely will be that next British pay-per-view superstar after AJ Fury, Dylan White's. But at the moment, he still doesn't generate enough, I don't think, to attract someone like Adrian Broner. Similar with Sean Porter, and realistically, I think Sean Porter would beat him at the moment. I think that's all. Yeah, I mean, we're talking levels, and I think people are getting too excited, like Johnny Nelson saying that he'd beat Sean Porter. I don't see that at all. I don't see that at all. That was look 2 minutes as well is not enough to go on. If I'm being honest with you, so I think he'd need one more fight, and then you can maybe, if he performs incredibly well against a really good opponent, then you might be able to say it and actually not get abused. But genuinely, I think yeah, levels, man. And who's the other one he talked about? Amir Khan. I mean, it's just, and actually, Boxing Talk with Ade, he's a really, really good channel, by the way. It's a really good channel. Go and check it out. Much bigger than my channel, to be honest. And he's been around for a very long time. He's so knowledgeable, a lot more knowledgeable than me. But I watch a lot of his videos because the discussions are really good, and I also tune into the lives as well that he does every week. And he was saying that, yeah, like probably partly the reason why Amir Khan doesn't get as much respect is because probably a few factors. I think one is he probably doesn't help himself that much outside the ring, but one of the big contributing factors is also potentially race and stuff. So, which of course is disappointing, etc. But look, I mean, it's just the world we live in, I think. And I was just thinking, if his name was Ricky Hatton, would he get the same? Because Ricky Hatton, I think rightly so, was adored by the British media. Like, fair enough. I think he was a really incredible character. A lot of people could relate to him. He had a massive following. He was just, yeah, like revered. And I think that's rightly so. He should have been. But I think maybe because Amir Khan also went to the US as well. And I think Ade said this as well. That maybe that's why, which is probably unfair because at the time the money was in the US and he attracted the stardom in the US and he had big fights. I mean, he fought Prime Maidana, for example. I mean, he fought Zab Judah. He's just fought some ridiculous names. So I think a lot of people forget how good a fighter Amir Khan was and the legacy that he has because it's no joke. I think a lot of people associate it because he's been perceived to have ducked Kell Brook in the past. That means that he's a rubbish fighter or we don't rate him. But he's fought people arguably a lot better than Kell Brook in his career. And similarly with Kell Brook, to be fair, he's fought people that are better than Amir Khan. Triple G will go down as a much better fighter than Amir Khan, and Errol Spence long term may as well. Who knows? So Sean Porter's a good fighter as well. So yeah, look, I think it's just again, why is Amir Khan going to take that? Conor Benn could beat him. He could at this stage of Amir Khan's career. If we're talking about primes, Amir Khan wipes the floor with him. If I'm being honest with you, but he's not in his prime. That's just how it is, and I wouldn't be surprised if Conor Benn beat him. But again, why is Amir Khan going to take that? I think after he tweeted saying, "Look, really good win from Conor Benn." He said, "Looked really good," and then he's a bit cheeky. He said, "At his age, I was already a world champion," which he was. So that's what I mean, right? People forget. And then he said, "Look, if it was the case that he had a world title, then it might be a different situation." And that's it. So basically saying that he's not going to take it unless he has a world title, which is fair enough. Like he can do what he wants really at this point in his career. But yeah, I don't want to see that. The fight I really want to see is Conor Benn versus David Avanesian. And after Avanesian beat Kelly, there was that talk that look, if Conor Benn gets through Samuel Vargas, that's who he should fight because David Avanesian I rate quite highly, a lot higher than Samuel Vargas. To be honest with you. And he is a damn good fighter, David Avanesian. A lot of people saying they would actually edge towards David Avanesian. I just think it would be a fantastic fight. I mean, action packed. What a damn good fight that would be. And it's the European belt, so it's a good little step up as well for Conor Benn. And then if he beats someone like David Avanesian, then you can start saying, okay, we probably need one more level in between that. And then you can start looking at your world champions, etc. Potentially. But yeah, anyways, fantastic win from Conor Benn, really was, and looking forward to seeing what they do with him. He is the part, isn't he? I mean, he is going to be the future of British boxing, and look, has the name. Nigel Benn is his dad. I mean, he walks the walk as well. So I mean, I just think he is a complete package. He's so aggressive on and off camera. It's amazing that he talks in Spanish as well to Samuel Vargas in the build up. I thought that was great. So really, really, I just think he's a fantastic advert for British boxing. Um, yeah, in terms of just his aura that he has about him. So looking forward to seeing him in some big, big fights coming up, and a fantastic statement made by him. On the undercard, then very briefly, I'll touch upon those fights, and then we'll go on to some of the other fights around the world. Shannon Courtenay beat Ebony Bridges via unanimous decision. Before there was this whole talk about weigh-ins and how women should be represented, etc. And I think Eddie Hearn and a few other people, and I'm pretty much of the same opinion that like just do whatever you want, like it's your life, I guess. I guess people are allowed to have opinions on it, but realistically, the only thing I was really interested in was who's going to win that fight, really, because Shannon Courtenay had lost to Rachel Ball before, and there's a lot of question marks around whether she's cut out for it in terms of being at that higher level, world class level. Can she win a world title? And then can she go on to those big fights? Ebony Bridges, I think, clearly around how she markets herself, etc. There was a lot of. She has a lot of fans, by the way, from the UK. A lot of fans from the UK, and she's got a huge following. So there's a lot of pressure, I think, on Eddie to get her on a show. And it just happened that Rachel Ball, had some medical issues, so Ebony Bridges came in short notice. On the fight, it's interesting. I think it's funny. A lot of people saying it's a good advert for women's boxing, and actually, my sister came into the room whilst I was watching it, and my wife as well, and they actually were watching it a little bit, and they're not boxing fans at all. But they were kind of like, "Oh, what's that?" And they're saying, "Oh, they're bleeding a lot. They've got stuff on their tops in the face and stuff." They're like, "What's that pink stuff?" And I was like, "Oh, it's blood." And they're like, "Oh my god!" And they're watching it, and it's interesting. But I think the style of fighting is very fan friendly. Even if you're a casual, someone who doesn't even like boxing, it's just very action packed. I think they gelled really well. And I thought it was an exciting fight to watch, to be honest with you. And kudos to Ebony British. She had this huge like swelling on her left eye, and she just carried on. So a lot, it's funny. Ade said something on his video, and I think is very true that a lot of men would have stopped potentially when they had that. So kudos to her, and she's one tough cookie, that's for sure. And Shannon Courtenay was so elated. I mean, the emotion on her face after was just great to see. And she's had quite a journey as well. And now she's world champion. I think rightly so. It was. I don't think it was, a clean sweep. I think it was relatively close, but Shannon Courtenay hurt her. I think it was in the fifth round. She rocked her definitely. It was with the right hand, a counter right hand, and you're just thinking, okay. And from there, Bridges did come back with some shots with her own. The uppercut for Bridges worked really, really well. I thought throughout the whole fight, Shannon Courtenay didn't really cover up at all in that. That's something that she can work on. But similarly, Courtenay had a lot of success with the right hand. And I think overall, the jab was better from Courtenay as well. And that probably proved to be a big difference. So a rightful winner, but very good fight. I wouldn't mind seeing the rematch for that. And also, Rachel Ball will come to the equation now as well. I'm sure Shannon Courtenay once said she said that she'd like to fight her after and also go on to unify titles, etc. So there's a nice little triangle that could potentially happen there and with other fighters in that division. Okay, on to the other fight that I wanted to cover on that undercard was Cash Fruit versus Espinoza. He won that via unanimous decision as well. Just looks so slick. Looks so good. I mean, I want to see the rematch between him and Lee McGregor because a lot of people thought that Cash Fruit won that fight. I mean, it was a pick 'em, I think, but Lee McGregor he destroyed Gurphy in the European title fight. Unbelievable performance. Destroyed him, didn't he? And people weren't expecting it. And now, Cash Farouk, I think, maybe the only difference between the two and something that's slightly concerning could be his potential lack of power. I think, Lee McGregor seemed to have showcased that, I've got power in that last fight. Cash Farouk didn't. The only thing I would say is that it was a very slick performance, though, and he has skills to pay the bills. So I'm looking forward to seeing him carry on his career. And also, I want to see that rematch, and I want to see him go on to World Honors because he looks like a great prospect coming through. And also signed to Matchroom himself and Ebony Bridges, even though she lost, they both now signed to Matchroom as well. So after the fight, so looking forward to seeing them on some Matchroom cards. Okay, on to the other fights then around the world. Jarron Ennis beat Lipinets in the 6th round. Beat him with an absolutely brutal knockout. I mean, it was like I think it was, I think what punches it was. It was like a right hand uppercut, then left hook. Just put him on his ass. And he just couldn't get up, and it was just, oh mate, this guy is one. I just can't wait to see him. 27 wins, 25 KOs, ridiculous. I mean, 23 years of age. I don't know. This guy is just a beast. He really is. Him and Virgil Ortiz are the next big things coming from the welterweight division. I think Conor Benn's probably slightly below them. I think he's a level below them, if I'm being honest with you. But these guys, I think, are nailed on. Jarron Ennis and Virgil Ortiz to win world titles. I think Conor Benn, if he continues to improve at his rate, he could potentially, but I think he's slightly below them. And I mean, if you want to see some of the killers in the welterweight division, just watch that fight and watch the knockout. Jarron Ennis, Lipinets is no slouch. Jarron Ennis destroyed him. He actually called Crawford out after, and again, slightly like how we said about Conor Benn. I think getting slightly ahead of himself. I don't think he should be getting in with Crawford. I think he probably needs. It's crazy. Who would you put him in with? You know what? I wouldn't mind him fighting Danny Garcia. I reckon he'd beat him. It would be a tough fight. It wouldn't be easy. And I wouldn't be surprised if he lost, but I think he'd edge him. I genuinely think he'd beat Danny Garcia. Sean Porter, I think, has got too much. He's too busy at the moment. He's an absolute nightmare for anyone. And then you've got others as well. So yeah, Jarron Ennis is just such a good fight. I just hope he stays active. Hopefully, has at least one more fight. And but yeah, yeah. Let's see. Let's see. Joe Smith Jr. as well beat Vlasov via majority decision, and that was pretty controversial. But looking forward to seeing him potentially against Beterbiev. So who knows? Who knows? Anyway, I think that's it. Really, I'm going to wrap up there. So thank you very much, guys, for tuning in. Please remember to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and click the notification button to make sure you get alerted to all the new videos. Thank you very much.